Cancer, hi, come on in just in time for your Cancer March 2020 reading. Oh, it's so good to see you, and particularly great to see my subscribers. I do appreciate your interest and loyalty, and great to see those of you who have had and booked personal one-on-one face-to-face reading with me over the FaceTime and Skype. It's been a great pleasure to meet you. You're now part of the family, and the psychic readings I think you have enjoyed, because I know that you have recommended, thank you for recommending me to some friends of yours as well who have booked and mentioned that you had a reading with me. If you do want to have a reading with me, just check out the information that's in the description box. Anyway, let us now have a look at the tarot, and what I'm also going to do is I'm going to use 3 playing cards at the end of the tarot section. Now, the playing cards I use in the psychic readings which I do, and they're like a surgeon's knife. They give a very, very precise indication as to what is going to happen in your future. This is a general reading, of course, but they'll still have particular energies that bring to bear upon you for this month, and they will supplement what we have here in the tarot. Now, in the tarot, I may well use my pen, I think, to point out some of the salient features of these beautiful cards, because the imagery on the cards is important for me to evoke the messages and energy which comes down. So let's get it underway, shall we? The 9 of coins. Well, it doesn't get a lot better than that. It remains to be seen what else is around it, of course, but off the front it's good. There's the Knight of Coins. Well, I think you've got a good month coming up. A good month coming up, and you deserve it, don't you? Good time of year, this. There is the 3 of Swords. Do you know, March is, of course, the spring equinox in the north and the fall or autumn equinox in the south. It's a very auspicious time. There's a lot of interesting things happening astrologically at the moment. I won't go into them in any detail, and I won't do a horoscope for you, because you're going to have enough information from what I give you from these cards to get you ready for March. And here's the final tarot, and that is the Magician. The fantastic card that is, I think. There's the 5 of Swords down there, and the 3 of Swords. Knight of Coins and the 9 of Coins and the Magician. All extremely interesting. Extremely interesting. Now, let's see what these playing cards have. Look, there's the 10 of Diamonds. There's the 10 of Spades. What are these 10s coming out? There seems to be quite a degree of synchronicity in the messages is coming. It's almost like 2 sides of the same coin in a lot of respects, but we shall see in just a moment. I don't know that 10 of Spades is necessarily for you. I think that's for somebody else, but we'll see when we get there. Might be someone you know, I think. What's this final card here? There's the 3 of Spades. Okay, let's get these cards together. Come and sit down next to me, and together you and I can have a look at these cards, and I'll tell you what they mean for you. All right, Cancer, let me get the vibe, and here it comes. I'm going to look at this one first. There's a couple of Swords cards here which I'm going to deal with at the start. Now, let's have a look at this card here, shall we? Now, isn't this interesting imagery? We have a young man being sent away by his family. The child and this baby in arms may be difficult for you to see, but they both have the same eyes as the father. Now, these 3 symbolize the I Ching trigram, Zhen, Kan, and Qian, the first, second, and third son, respectively. The young man has eyes like his mother. He is like the biblical prodigal son. as symbolized, I think, by this pig and the acorns which he was throwing, because in that story, the prodigal son tried to make a living feeding acorns to pigs, which was very frowned upon in the society in which he grew up with, because his society did not eat pork, and so it had a lot of negativity associated with it, and someone's character was deemed to be no good. But nevertheless, what we can also say is that in one of his bags here are coins, and in another bag here, it might be difficult for you to make it out, but there is which I take to be the outline of a prostitute. The reason being that the prodigal son in the story went off and, see, he got his inheritance first while his father was still alive, and he went away and just spent the money on drinking and girls, and it was all gone. So that's what this symbology is, and it reinforces this prodigal son type of thought in my mind. Yeah, very much getting a sort of a prodigal son feeling about this. I think what we can also say that, look, what's interesting is that the feather in his hat is shaped like a question mark, and then there are on the hilts of these swords 3 fools from different tarot decks. This first fool is reminiscent of the Tarot de Marseille. This one here is of the Visconti Storza Tarot Fool, and there is the Tarot Mantegna Fool, and at the base of this fool here is it's the peace symbol, the anti-war symbol. You know, when we had the circle with the 3 lines on it, the anti-war symbol. Now, what does this mean for you? The card is the energy that's coming up from it for me astrologically is Saturn in the 2nd decan of Libra, that 3rd to the 12th of October. Now, in ordinary astrology, Saturn is exalted in Libra, so we might expect really good stuff. But this number 3 has an association for me mystically with the planet of Saturn as well. And so we have Saturn in the card, in the astrology, and we have Saturn in the card. And so Saturn being about, very often about causing problems and dramas, restrictions, and just disappointment, I suppose. And so we have, I guess, what you'd call a difficulty astrologically, and the suit of swords itself can be difficult in any event. But what I get here is that I think it's going to be a period of you, and I'm just looking at these cards on the side here as well. I'll get to those at the end. There may well be a period of some heartbreak that you go through, where you are caught up, I think, in some degree of mental anguish. And these are thoughts about somebody else, I think, rather than thoughts about yourself. I think these are thoughts that are directed to someone else, about their condition. Swords, of course, is about the mind. Partings, maybe endings of relationships also, which can give some degree of discord to your mind, I think. It may also be that there is some sorrow over past hurts or losses or separations which are still with you. It's as if in the past you may have been a ship and thrown the anchor overboard, but you haven't moved forward. And I think what this is saying is it's time to pull that anchor up. Maybe longing to be whole again is what I'm also thinking. Do you know, sometimes we can have great concern about what it is that we ourselves have done in the past to people, and we have regret about things that we have done to other people, or the way we've handled particular situations or decisions that we have made. Let me just say this, that despite what you may believe, you can disappoint people and still be good enough. You can make mistakes and still be capable and talented. You can let people down and still be worthwhile and deserving of love. Everybody has disappointed someone they care about. Everyone messes up. Everyone lets people down. Everyone makes mistakes. not because we're inadequate or fundamentally inept, but because we are imperfect. We're not robots. We are fundamentally human. And expecting anything different is setting yourself up for failure. Nobody is perfect. Let me look now at this other sword card that's here. You have a lot of financial prosperity coming your way, incidentally, and this card also confirms that. I'll get to that at the end. I don't want to give too much away at the start. Now, what do we have here? Here we have a man smoking opium with a hookah. Let me explain what I mean by that. Not with a person, but with this instrument here, which is known as a hookah. A-H finishing the word, not E-R. So it's not a person, it's this object. He's got the slippers, these curly slippers of a decadent Raj. Behind him here are books, tomes on black magic, I would say. And these swords, they all have, this is sort of a ramshackle sort of a get-up here. These swords all have vampires on the tops of them, those creatures that suck the life out of beings. And don't we all know people who can sometimes suck the life out of us? Well, this card for me is Venus ruling the first decan of Aquarius. Yeah, the first of Aquarius. That is about the 22nd of January to the 29th of January. Now, Venus, you might recall, is actually the ruler of Taurus, which is an earth sign. But here we have Venus ruling Aquarius, which is an air sign. Now, the two of those are at odds. Venus is a lover and not a fighter, whereas Aquarius is a rebel ruled by Uranus, and Aquarius is a fighter usually for causes. So the individualistic, dispassionate nature of Aquarius clashes with gentle Venus, which is the planet of relationship. I've got a 5 here, and for me, that is mystically associated with the fiery planet of Mars. And I think Venus in the card can also be overwhelmed by that fiery and dispassionate nature of Mars. So really, we don't have harmony in the astrology, pretty well in the same way that we had with that other 3 of swords that we were just looking at. Now, I think what we're talking about here is, now this is something to bear in mind, I think that what we have is a situation where one is probably having fear about something. See, the essential element is that of fear, and it's distorting your view of the present, maybe of the unknown in your future. And this is represented because you're kind of, in a way, turning away from dealing with... Now, let me tell you also that the future never turns out the way we expect it to, ever, either good or bad. But there's a way of maybe trying to zone out. This guy's smoking opium, a way of zoning out to conquer the fear, to sort of self-medicate, if you like. Now, the 5 of Swords here can sometimes relate to a betrayal or a sneak attack by someone you trust and don't suspect as being your enemy. Now, I'm not going to say it's an unfaithful partner, but it could be a jealous person who is sabotaging you behind your back. Your fear may be the result of losing control emotionally due to previous hurts from relationships, as we were just discussing, or it may be connected with the workplace where you've had an experience that stops you now from expressing yourselves fully because your confidence was shaken. Maybe you took a bit of a beating by the boss or the higher-ups, but the thing is to go back and learn from it. That's what people want to see. They want to see people bounce back. And certainly, if you can let go of your feeling of fear, then the energy which is bound up in this building will spring forward and and propel you forward. Although swords is mental, and it's probably some sort of a mental turmoil that you're going through, it can relate to the emotions because of the Venus presence that I mentioned. Because Venus is a lover and not a fighter. And as I said, Aquarius does like to fight. So I think what's important here is to know that you should accept your fear and let it go. And have this thought in mind: I am not my fears. It is safe for me to live without guarding and defending myself all the time. When I feel afraid, I open my heart and I let love dissolve the fear. Yep. Now, who are we going to have a look at? Do you know, I'm going to have a look at this first because it does lead on to what is, I think, other things that are coming up for you here. Here we have the Magician card. Now, just to have a look at him, first of all, he's got a three-legged table, doesn't he? Well, you'd say, how do you get a three-legged table to come together? That's magic, and he's the magician. And what he has here also is he has the elements of the tarot suits. Here's the coins, there's the sword, there's the cups, and he's holding a wand. Dressed in red, rather dashing. Although I kind of see the Fool as being androgynous, really. But the wide-brimmed hat that he has here is symbolic of the triumph of the mind and intellect. Now, this is interesting down here. There's a flower which is growing strongly here. So life is part of this card. And you see this green stuff. Look at the pattern on it. I think that pattern is reminiscent of crocodile skin, which has been enlarged and stretched. The reason why I say that is because in ancient days and along the River Nile, people thought that crocodiles had no sex. They could not differentiate between male crocodiles and female crocodiles. And of course, they never saw crocodiles mating, and therefore they thought to themselves, maybe just crocodiles just appear. They just turn up out of nothing. It's as if there was a creation from nothing in the crocodile. And that is the symbology, I think, that's here and appropriate to you, that this is a period in time when you'll have a creation of nothing. It's the start of something new or spontaneous. Could well be the beginning of a journey into the unknown, which is full of potential for you. And I think there's going to be for you the need to take a leap, not of faith, but with inner confidence that you're going to be okay. Open up your life and have the faith that you can create what you want. You can, wanting to break free of the usual routine in life and looking upon life as the Fool does, kind of being empty again, manifesting creativity and allowing your life to move forward in a very special way. You know, this is what is true, and it is, there is nothing you cannot be, there is nothing you cannot do, there is nothing you cannot have. You are the most magnificent, the most remarkable, the most splendid being God has ever created. For who could reject such wondrous magnificence? But you do not know who you are, and you think you are a great deal less. You are your own rule maker, and you are the only one who can assess how you are doing. All you see of the world is your idea about it. Life will take off for you when you choose for it to. An idea becomes a thought becomes a word. Say it out loud. Words have power and reverberate all throughout eternity. And a word becomes an action. And if you are going to do it,
start. And having started, go all the way. Do it. Do it. Seize this moment. Rejoice in it. And let no power on earth take it from you. Now let's have a look at this good news card here, which is the 9 of coins. Now, again, interesting imagery on this card, I think. Here we have, 9 coins. They all have goats' heads on them. Now, back in the medieval times, of course, goats were really important because they signified wealth and the ability to eat and drink milk and what have you. And here we have a path with flowers winding along, whereby here at the start there is a lost gold ring. There is a fellow here looking for the gold ring perhaps. A woman here with a falcon on her hand. Actually, this is reminiscent of, I don't really use the Rider-Waite tarot deck. Well, I used to when I was a boy. But it's reminiscent of the image that's on that 9 of coins in that deck. And here we have a woman or a man who is dressed in a raincoat and umbrella, ready for the storm ahead. Now, astrologically, Venus ruling the second decan of Virgo, the 3rd to the 12th of September. Venus, as we mentioned, is concerned with love and with money. And, well, frankly, I think love and money are both expressions of your values, your pleasures, your tastes, aren't they? And Venus is saying that if your heart is pure and you follow your heart, your life can only gain from this, and good fortune will attend your material affairs. Now, Virgo is an earth sign, and it's associated with practical matters, with discrimination, and with organization. So the type of energy which I'm getting from here is, well, it's gain, it's reward for efforts, realizing your goals, right? So you get these things underway, and you're going to find that understanding that you can do anything, you will realize your goals. You're putting in place those things which are going to lead to personal and financial independence and material security and self-sufficiency. Projects and situations and relationships that you've got going, I think, at this time are all going to help in your overall security. You're going to start moving ahead. Now, this card isn't about wealth. It's not about Bill Gates or Warren Buffett or the Queen of England or anybody like that, or any of the Chinese billionaires. But what it is saying that you look back on this period and you'll say to yourself, do you know what? I remember back there, maybe in 12 months' time, and say that was the start of when things were really going to be good. This is a general period of improvements in all areas of your life. It's possible that there'll be settlements and financial gifts. I get a lot of a feeling of karmic reward here, good luck and good management in financial affairs, and the beginnings, as I say, of financial security, which is coming into your life. And let's have a look here. Sorry, I had my phone on there. It was dinging away. I don't know who it is. Now here we have a rider above a rather sturdy looking horse that has a very strong bit in it. Now, what I will say about this Knight of Coins here is he sort of looks like a Marco Polo figure, because again I'm looking at the age of the tarot deck itself, very strong bit, and this sort of buildings and wall out here sort of looks like he's out there surveying past the Great Wall of China into parts of China. In this very large coin that he has, he's the Knight of Coins, is the symbol of a turtle. Now, you may be interested to know that in Eastern philosophy, the turtle was important because the elephant stood on top of the turtle, and the elephant then held the universe on top of itself. So that's where that comes in. Now, is anybody going to be important to you with this Prince of the Chariot of Earth? Yeah, I'd say maybe a Taurus or an Aries, I'd say. I think what's going to happen is that you're going to find that you are a very capable manager, a steadfast worker. Slow to anger, I think, but really watch out if anybody does push your buttons too often and too hard. In love, this guy doesn't rush in, but he tends to lean towards cultivation of it over time. And he's the type of person, I think, who generally tries to set a good example to others using traditional values. Now, the court cards can be male or female, and as I say, I'm getting a lot of Taurus and a lot of Aries around it. I also do get with him, though. Funnily enough, I'm getting this sort of element of worry in here. There's almost like an anxiety about achieving material ambitions. It may be perceived rather than actual. This is a guy who doesn't really trust in the process of life, but he tries to control it too much through actions in the world. So in a sense, what he needs to do is he needs to calm down, because I think there's something of a misdirected Mars energy in there. Yeah, misdirected Mars energy. And I'm getting that from that sort of Aries feeling that I'm getting up. Aries and Taurus is what I'm having around here. But I do also think, though, that this is a person who, I think for you, says that we're going to find you at your most productive, and that you'll be using your energy and resources to apply to practical things that bring about a material reward for your efforts. You know, he's forged ahead to achieve his ambitions, and financial matters for him are usually positive, so I think you should have that consolation as well. I think what he's also saying is that there's going to be the completion of work projects that you've got underway. I think he follows plans to their natural end, but he needs to be on his guard against complacency, but still his ability to stick with things is a positive attribute. So I think that you'll be putting a lot of energy into practical things at the moment, which could be about fixing things up even around your home. It could be cooking. It could be fashion and makeup and clothes. It can be the creation, artistic stuff on the internet and designing things, not just building bridges and things like that. So I think what we are going to do is also find that this is a period in your life when you are really going to want to sort out the practical things in your life, such as your health and material and financial things that are going on. Let's have a look at some of these. We'll go through these rather quickly. Let's have a look first at this 10. Now, the 10 of diamonds, well, this is the end of a cycle. It could also be a trip abroad or dealing with people from abroad or with foreign people, I think. It's certainly a very good card relating to prosperity, because generally it means financial success, and really it's often the very best money card to appear. And I'd say success, especially in businesses that require travel. It's a great card to have when starting a new business. And certainly changes are occurring with financial success in mind, I think. But I also have a very strong feeling here of international travel. Now, you know how I said before that there was somebody, I think, that you may well be having concerns about or thoughts which were you were worried about someone? Well, I think this someone is just appearing now with this 10 of spades. I don't think this is you, although it's going to have an effect on you, because this is really a card of worry. It's a worrier. It can talk about worry, grief, and anxiety. So you may hear unwelcome news about somebody else, I think. And it may be to do with their health. Sometimes you yourself can have some fear, particularly if change is involved. but I'm really getting the feeling here of you having anxiety or worry about somebody else, and it to do with health matters or their lifestyle, how it is that they're living their life, which could also be affecting their health. Let's have a look then at this card, the 3. Yeah, see, the general thing is moving along in the same direction. 3s are about extension very often. They can sometimes also mean changing minds. I think what we have here is, again, a card of worry is what I'm getting, and maybe some tears being shed. There's a sort of an indecision, a fear, or a physical stress which is due to someone's work or someone's health, is what I'm getting here. There could well be a situation which you've considered to be quite frustrating, which has been going on for a period of time. Now, sometimes this can relate to breaks in relationships, or sometimes a third person breaking into a relationship. Now, when this card appears, I'd be very careful when it comes to partnerships, business partnerships. Don't go spending or investing money in business with other people without crossing all the I's and dotting the T's, crossing the T's and dotting the I's. That's the way it is for you this month.
Well, there you go. March underway. Well, let me just say this, is that you were fantastic during that reading, and I really enjoyed providing it to you. I love providing these readings to you each month, and subscribe and become part of the family and belong. And let me just say this, and I want you to remember this always, that you are a legend, and I look forward to seeing you next month. Until then, bye for now.